Welcome back to Broken to Fruitful. I'm Mike Morgan. In the next few videos, we're going to plunge into a very controversial topic, that of demonization and deliverance for believers. The Bible teaches that there is an unseen but real, literal kingdom of darkness and evil that is ruled by Satan and populated by fallen angels, called demons in the Scripture. Demonization is what these evil beings try to do to all people. Deliverance is how we get free of them. Even though it is a very controversial topic, I believe it's very necessary to cover it. People who attend Broken to Fruitful seminars say this part is the most helpful topic we cover. So we'll talk about the nature of the warfare that goes on all around us every day in the unseen spiritual realms and how we're living in a war zone. We will look at Satan's standard operating procedures for gaining influence in a person's life. Two of the most common methods are soul ties, which are damaging relationships with other people, and generational iniquity, or iniquity in a family tree that's passed on from one generation to later ones. Deliverance is the term for freeing people from demonic influence, and it's a process for removing any influence that a demon has over a person. First, let's look at some background information. Jesus announced and inaugurated his ministry by quoting the Messianic proclamation from Isaiah 61. It's recorded in Luke chapter 4. "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim release to the captives and recovery of sight to the blind, to set free those who are oppressed, and to proclaim the favorable year of the Lord." Now this was Jesus' mission statement, what he came to accomplish, and it is glorious and wonderful. But it does raise some questions. Jesus said that he came to release the captives and free the oppressed. So the question is, who is the one who holds the captives? Who is the one who oppresses? Two other passages in the New Testament provide some answers. 2 Timothy 2:26 says that they may come to their senses and escape the snare of the devil, having been held captive by him to do his will. Acts 10:38, wonderful verse, says, "You know of Jesus of Nazareth, how God anointed him with the Holy Spirit and with power, and how he went about doing good and healing all who were oppressed by the devil, for God was with him." So Satan is the one who holds the captives and the one who oppresses. He is the captor and the oppressor. A significant part of Jesus' ministry involved conflict with demons and the kingdom of darkness. The healing ministry of Jesus frequently involved deliverance. Of the dozens of references to healing in the New Testament, many state that deliverance from demonization occurred. By some estimates, about 1/3 of all these instances. Here are just a few. Luke 9, verse 1. "And he called the 12 together, and gave them power and authority over all the demons, and to heal diseases." Mark 16, 17, and 18. He says, "These signs will accompany those who have believed. In my name they will cast out demons." And he goes on to list the other signs that follow. The very first following sign that Jesus mentioned was deliverance, or casting out demons. So if we believe in a full gospel of salvation for the whole person, deliverance cannot be ignored. Most Bible-believing Christians acknowledge demonization in the New Testament, but they balk at its presence today. So, can a Christian be demon-possessed? Is that biblical? Well, first of all, the term is inaccurate. The term demon-possessed is an inaccurate rendering of the original text, and here's an example. Matthew 15:22. "A Canaanite woman from that region came out and began to cry out, saying, 'Have mercy on me, Lord, Son of David. My daughter is cruelly demon-possessed.'" Now the Greek word translated demon-possessed here is daimonidzomai. Hard to pronounce. It occurs 13 times in the New Testament and is usually translated demon-possessed or demoniac. Here's what the word means if you look it up in any kind of Greek dictionary. It means to be under the power of a demon. It says nothing about possession or ownership, merely influence or control. So demon possession is a more traditional translation, but it's not technically accurate. So the original question about demon possession could be reduced to, Can a Christian be influenced or controlled by a demon? Now this becomes a matter of degree of involvement. A Christian can certainly willfully invite demonic influence by engaging in an activity that has a significant demonic component, like the occult, or witchcraft, or false religions. But what about less overtly demonic or forbidden activities? The reality of our existence on planet Earth is that we are at war with the kingdom of darkness. Ephesians 6 contains the famous spiritual warfare passage in the New Testament that says, "Put on the full armor of God so that you will be able to stand firm against the schemes of the devil. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the powers, against the world forces of this darkness, against the spiritual forces of wickedness in the heavenly places." Now I've highlighted some terms here that are real warfare terms. Schemes refer to cunning arts, deceit, craft, or trickery. These are some of the devil's most common tactics. And our struggle is a wrestling term. It refers to two people struggling or wrestling with each other. And with the kingdom message that we preach, we can lose sight of the fact that we are still at war with a malevolent enemy. Among people who minister deliverance, there's an axiom. East of Egypt, everyone knows there are demons. West of Egypt, people like to be in control. We in the West do like to be in control, but we find that the devil has not gone away. He just adapts his tactics to the culture of the people he wants to oppress. In Haiti, for instance, demonization might be very overt, like voodoo ceremonies. But in the U.S., a materialistic spirit that denies all issues of faith might be quite comfortable in a suit and tie. For a Bible-believing Christian, we must realize that demonization was part of the Christian struggle in New Testament times, and kingdom truth never changes. So, can demons make a person sick? In Luke 13, there's an account of Jesus ministering to a woman who was bent double. Jesus was teaching in one of the synagogues, and in came a woman who for 18 years had been bent double. Now Jesus healed her, and then he talked about it. He says in verse 11 that her sickness was caused by a spirit. There was a demon in her body that caused her spine to be malformed so that she was bent double. Then he calls her a daughter of Abraham. She wasn't a pagan. She was a God-fearing Jew, instructed in the law of Moses, who had believed in God as much as he had revealed himself up until that time. And she was still demonized and had to be freed from that oppression. Most of the people Jesus delivered from demons were God-fearing Jews who were instructed in the law of Moses and not pagans. But she wasn't truly a Christian, was she? Jesus hadn't even risen from the grave yet. So let's look at Ephesians 4:25 through 27 for some important truths. And it says, "Therefore, laying aside falsehood, speak truth, each of you with his neighbor. For we are members of one another. Be angry, yet do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your anger, and do not give the devil an opportunity." That word opportunity is rendered foothold in the New International Version and place in the New King James. Foothold, opportunity, place are how it's rendered in most translations. Let's look at this verse. What does it mean for us? Well, first of all, this is in Paul's letter to the Ephesians, so there's no question that this passage was written to believers. This word opportunity means a portion or space marked off, as it were, from a surrounding space. It is a place to be occupied, and it can also mean power or occasion for acting. So, how can a believer give the devil a place to occupy or an opportunity to act? Because that's what this verse warns against. The previous verses mention very ordinary acts, lying and harboring anger. It doesn't refer to anything that we would say is overtly demonic or occult. Some very common types of demonization have very familiar names, like rejection, depression, addiction, abuse, trauma, and lust. Now, I'm not saying every instance of these things is demonic. I'm just saying that there can be a demonic component to all of these things. Now, I want to state that I have discovered that the devil is completely malevolent. and will use anything to gain a foothold. Friends, the devil is so completely cruel, he will afflict anyone. This is a being who kills babies for fun. So don't be surprised that he would use trauma that occur to a person to an advantage to try to afflict that person in some way and gain a foothold. Speaking of footholds, a foothold is a beachhead in military terms. I will use Normandy and D-Day as an illustration. This is how invasions succeed. The invading army first establishes a beachhead. Once the beachhead is secured, they use it as a base of operations and expand from there. Here's what happened in D-Day. The Allies landed at Normandy, established a beachhead, and began to pour in supplies, tanks, guns, machinery, personnel, food, all the material they needed to successfully expand their operations and defeat the Germans. So we can reasonably conclude from this and other similar passages that yes, a demon can make a person sick, even a God-fearing person. And if demons can make your body sick, why wouldn't they be able to attack your inner life as well? This may not sound like a happy Christian message. Well, sorry. The New Testament is full of instructions about kingdom life as warfare, and it's better to realize it and fight to win. Here are a few of those verses. James 4, verse 7 says, "Submit therefore to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you." So resistance to demonic influences is part of normal Christian life, and any command that we ignore has consequences. 1 Peter 5:8 says, "Be of sober spirit, be on the alert. Your adversary, the devil, prowls about like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour." We have an adversary who looks for opportunities to devour and footholds to occupy. Church history, especially the early church, tells us that deliverance was a normal part of discipleship and sanctification. It's a truth and practice that in recent times has fallen into neglect, I would say to our harm. Now that doesn't mean we should be Satan-focused. No, we should be Christ-focused. But we ignore what the Scriptures teach us about the presence of the demonic and how to deal with it at our peril. I didn't used to believe this. My ideas and beliefs about demonization have evolved a lot over the years, but I can tell you my family and I suffered greatly in the past because we were ignorant of the devil's schemes, and I don't want that to happen to you. You can try to ignore the devil and hope he doesn't mess with you, but do you really want to stake your life, your future, your family on Satan being nice to you? That's just naive. It's far better to know your enemy, know the warfare that is real, and know how to wage it effectively. So if you've never had deliverance ministry, I would recommend it to you. Even if you've never done anything to attract demonic influence, you are still living with the consequences of 3 to 4 generations of ancestors and everything that they did. How could you not have accumulated some demonic junk? The devil doesn't just go away when we get saved because we think he should. He is a lawless being who must be compelled to leave, and we have to fight to possess our kingdom inheritance. So we're going to end this section here, and next time we'll talk about the 2 most common ways that demonization occurs and how to get free of them. So I'll see you on the next video. If you found Broken to Fruitful helpful, I'd love to hear from you. To contact me or schedule a Broken to Fruitful seminar, visit the website, brokentofruitful.org, and click the contact link. My prayer for you is that you will find freedom in Jesus and joy in the journey. May God richly bless you. I'll see you in the next video.